Good morning. Sun finally came up. It's going to be a nice day out here. This is our first day not pouring concrete, sort of on winter shutdown. We're still doing inside stuff, and we have a patio to do on Friday. It's supposed to warm up pretty good. Nice, simple, small patio. So we're going to go ahead and get that done. So for today, I went up and picked up some concrete blocks. I'm going to start putting the base down here. This is 20 feet off of the sawmill pad. I'm going to keep everything nice and square. I believe I mentioned that. I don't want to keep repeating myself. So just getting a nice straight line on the ground. Right there, this will be my start. So 40 feet. I'll start getting the blocks in place. I need a little bit more stone right here. I could scrape some over and put it in here. I want to keep it far away from that hillside, but 20 feet's a good number. We're good to go there. So let's start putting these in. Remind me I set these here, okay, when I'm looking for them. Okay, let's get going. Got one hooked up. Okay, got one row just about done. Now I'm squaring the back wall. 15 feet, put a mark. 20 feet, put a mark. Now my diagonal is 25. Any multiples of 3, 4, 5 is a right angle. So I went ahead and painted that out. Stretch my string line right across the top of it. What I was saying earlier, my camera died. I had to run and plug it in. So I pulled the string across my 20-foot line, and then I went ahead and painted it to my 40-foot mark. Okay, let's go get our last stone. Next Gen 306. Touch control, now it operates like a skid loader. You can use these if you want to, or the joystick. Up, a little slide. I just want to get it off and low as quick as I can, just in case something goes bad. I don't want it hitting the edge of the trailer, hitting the machine. My new skid loader. And good. Okay, we're back here. Second load of concrete blocks. Going pretty good. I just creep up to the wall, just shy of the wall, drop the blade, stabilize the front of that machine. Those fingers. repeat. Hands off the controls while he's hooking up the chain. Okay, I can, excuse me, I can only haul 9 of those blocks on that trailer at a time. So it's taken me quite a while. So next round I will get to this corner and then we'll cap this off. I'm debating a big cherry tree needs to go. I should probably drop it now. It wants to go that way. But man, look at the nice sawmill lumber out of that. But it's gonna die. We're burying the roots, the ball of the tree. It's going to die. So we're gonna go ahead and cut that down and make something out of that lumber. A little bit of firewood up top. So it's getting kind of late. I think I'm going to head into the garage and do some work. Okay, so back in the garage, it's almost 5 o'clock. I got a little bit of time left. This is the one I just put the new motor in, getting it greased, ready to go into service. So what I used to hate doing on these, my 2 oldest power buggies, I have to do this. Each undercarriage bolt for the bottom 6 rollers, you take that off, you put in a grease fitting and you pump it full of grease, take the grease fitting out and put the cap back on. I did a video on this last year and a viewer said, hey Tom, why don't you get a needle for your grease gun and pump it in there? So I went to the auto parts store and said, hey, what is a needle for a grease gun? So he showed me. So thank you very much, viewer. It worked great. So they sell these needles that hook into your grease gun. So what you can do, you can poke a hole in the boot of like a, sorry about this, like a tie rod end or a universal joint. You can poke a hole in it and pump grease in it if there's not a grease fitting. A lot of these things don't have grease fittings anymore, and if they dry up, there's no way to get it in there other than these needles. So I just loosened all these, pump them full of grease, and put the caps back on. Done in 3 minutes. It used to take me an hour to do a side, and I was so frustrated whenever I was done. I wanted to scream. So here we go. I'll get this side done and show you how I do it now. So I used to jack the machine up and do 1 roller at a time. I didn't want anything to move, so I just did 1 at a time. Now I leave everything down, the weight on these rollers, and I just take all the caps off. Now I didn't set a timer, but that couldn't have been more than 2 minutes. So thank you, whoever that viewer was, for mentioning to me about the grease gun needles. Really appreciate it. Okay, good morning everybody. It is Saturday morning, up here working at the shop. We picked up this new truck for Steven. His other one had an 8-foot bed on it. This one has a 9-foot. That sounded close. 9 foot 2.5 inches is what I'm looking for. So I'm trying to fit his roof racks on here. I didn't want to build a whole new set of roof racks. I really like the ones I made for this truck. They work well for us. So if I just tweak them a little bit, then we can save that. Now there's no hunting on my property. without permission. That's on the next hillside over there. I don't see any orange. See if you see any movement. Alright, let's head into the garage and I'll show you what we're getting into. Man, that guy's must be a lousy shot. Here's the roof racks that we need to fit on there. So I needed 9'2" from front to back. You can see I'm 9'2½". You can see I'm 8'1½". So 13.5 inches, 1 foot, 1 foot 1 inch is what I need to add on there. So my idea is I clamped a bar holding these in place. Now I'll take a Sawzall and just cut nice and clean right here, and right here. Both sides. I'll slide this back, cut these to fit in here, weld them in, paint it up, and that way I won't have to build a whole new set. That's my thought, that's my plan. We'll push in that direction. Okay, this is the way I came up with, just to keep everything nice and straight as I cut it and separated it. I just C-clamped 1.5 inch tubing to top and bottom. Just scrap whatever I had laying around, all 4 sides. Now I brought this I slid this back, and we needed, what was that? What did I say earlier? 9'2½". So I want a little bit of wiggle room. Let me butt that right into there. Let's do 9'2 3/4". Then I can put a rubber grommet between the two. So then that gave me, I believe, 13.1½ right there. So I just went around and made 13.1½ work on all of them, and so that brought all 4 pivot points back the same. I clamped these bars to the roof rack before I even cut it free. That way, as I slid this ahead, now I know this didn't change the plane. This tube will line right up with this tube, that tube will line right up with that one, and these hold everything in and out the right where it's supposed to be. And lastly, these should be 13.5 inches. So that needs to come in 1/8 of an inch. Okay, I'll start getting these cut. 1, 2, 3 pieces, and put this back together. And then I might add a gusset here or there, just since I cut it. We don't want to jeopardize the integrity of this all. And I think it's really well built. We've used it for a number of years and it's held up just fine. But now that I cut it free, like I said, I want this to be something that I don't even have to worry about going down the road. So I'll start cutting. I'll start with the 3/4 inch rod that I have. So I lower the saw down close to it, but not touching. This saw is almost as old as my tire machine. But there is no one out there that cuts straighter than this. So 13.5 inches is what we're looking for. Trying to hold the camera and do this. I'm going to get you some nice footage rather than just sitting on time lapse or strapped to my head looking at my feet. Emily yells at me all the time for that. Tighten that up. And then finally one last check. Okay. And drop the blade. I ease into it. And let it. Getting some pieces cut to the right length. I just bring them over to the grinder, and I like to bevel this edge, clean up any loose debris, any dirt. I like that. It's easier to use this than a hand grinder, which I use over there on the roof racks themselves. But these little pieces, I designate a wheel just for this kind of stuff. And then this is my drill bit sharpening wheel. Now that weld will lay in there real nice and clean. And actually, you have more surface to weld too, so it gives you a stronger fit, a stronger weld. Okay, so the top, middle, and bottom are welded in. I still have to weld the undersides. What I wanted to show you real quick was how I weld. And again, remember, this is a concrete channel. So I just tack the sides as I get the piece in, and then I take the clamps off it. Now when I'm doing my verticals, I just kind of spot weld it, spot weld it, spot weld it, and you can see how it overlaps each one. Spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, and I build it the whole way up. Now you can do it up or down. I prefer to go up, and it sort of lays on top of the under spot weld. And then I can just burn a bead across the top and connect it. That's what it looks before I grind it. Now I'll grind that smooth, and that's what I want it to look like getting ready for paint. Okay, I think my number inside was 9'2½", so I'm hooked on, and I wanted a quarter big, so I should be 9'3". 9'3¼ I wanted it a little bit big because of this radius, so I'd rather have it a quarter too big than 1/8 of an inch too small. Let's check that side and see how square we are. But I just flipped it over, as you saw, welded the underside, ground it all smooth. I don't want anybody running a hand down that and getting cut. So it's a little bit sharp right here. I'll address that. Everything else is nice and smooth. Inside, 9'3¼ So they're exactly the same. a little bit big, perfect. Okay, now we have to make, excuse me, this is where our 4-foot bull float goes. It tucks right in there and comes out 4 feet. So I have to make something here. It used to go in this pocket, so I'll extend this pocket over or make something else. We want to put the bull float here, and Steve said he'd like the bull float handles up here as well. He used to put them in the bed and they were always buried in dirt. So now we're going to put them up here, and I think this is ready for some primer and some paint. Okay, so I added a 1.5 bar right here at 4 foot back. I cut this plate off that was welded right here and reattached it up there. Now our bull float rides right there, and my locks, just gravity pulls them. I made the bottoms heavier so that they want to lock and swing ahead and wedge that in there. Now that cannot come out going down the road. So my final thing, I've got to figure out how we can mount these right alongside here, or possibly inside. So I might just put a bracket on the inside and we can stack 5 or 6 of them right in there. I kind of like that, and that way they're not hanging on the outside of the truck. Let's do that.